To this indictment for first-degree murder, sir, how do you wish to plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Thank you.
There you have it. That's Brian Walsh during his arraignment Thursday, 4/27/2023. He is being arraigned for first-degree murder of his wife, Ana Walsh. They have not found her body. As you will learn in this stream, he learned how to get rid of a body, apparently, because that's what he was searching on Google a lot on his child's iPad. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. This is the Late to Work podcast. Please subscribe, like the video. If you haven't subscribed, do that now. And for all of you that have, I want to thank you personally. I appreciate it. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it. I got basically a lot of footage of the prosecution's arguments during his arraignment. I have a little bit of the defense as well, but a majority of what I'm going to be playing is the evidence that the prosecution has on him. No body, but they got a lot of evidence. I would say he's a little guilty. All right.
He had also told the babysitter and the family friend that he had lost his phone, and he had told the family friend that he had felt somewhat free having lost his phone. Subsequent analysis of his phone determined that it was actually plugged in the morning of January 1st. However, while his phone stayed at the house in Chief Justice Cushing Highway in Cohasset, the oldest child's cell phone did not.
Why is that important? You're going to find out, because like I told you, there was all these searches on his child's tablet and his child's phone. Why is it important that his child's phone did not stay at home? It's important to know that he had it. And there's proof that he had it.
On January 1st, the oldest child's cell phone shows native location data that traveled to Shaw's Supermarket and Walgreens in Cohasset. At the time the phone is at those stores, the defendant is seen walking in on store surveillance videos by himself. It then travels later on that afternoon, approximately 5 to 5:30 p.m., to Vinin Liquors in Swampscott. Surveillance video shows the defendant's vehicle and the defendant arriving there by himself, bypassing the store, going to a dumpster in the parking lot of the store, disposing of items, then returning to his car.
You're going to hear he went to a lot of dumpsters and disposed of a lot of stuff. And guess what? All that stuff in those dumpsters were taken to the landfill and turned into ash before they could get to it. There was one dumpster where they got to what was in it, and they found a bunch of evidence in there.
After it goes to Vinin Liquors, it goes across the street to an apartment complex where the defendant's mother resides. The native location from the oldest child's cell phone shows that it is by the dumpster for that apartment complex. It then travels to Lowe's in Danvers. At that time, where the phone is showing that it's at Lowe's in Danvers, the defendant walks into Lowe's in Danvers by himself on store surveillance video. He is seen purchasing numerous items, including 5 Lowe's 5-gallon buckets, a Lennox high-tension hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, a framing hammer, Tyvek full-coverage suit, shoe guards, mop, snips, 200 disposable rags, trash bags, Murphy oil soap, and other cleaning products. It then travels to CVS in Danvers, where Mr. Walsh is again seen on video by himself, purchasing 13 different types of hydrogen peroxide. It then travels to Stop and Shop in Swampscott, where Mr. Walsh can be seen buying 3 64-ounce jugs of ammonia. The device then travels back to Mr. Walsh's mother's apartment. Mr. Walsh's mother stated that he did arrive that evening, informed her that Ana had returned to D.C. for a work emergency. At 7:15 p.m., Ms. Walsh's mother then calls her private investigator and leaves a message indicating that Ana Walsh has returned back to D.C. earlier than expected. Mr. Walsh returned home at approximately 8:30 p.m.
All right, you heard it. What was it? A couple 5-gallon buckets, a whole shit ton of ammonia. I don't know, hatchet, hacksaw, all sorts of shit. Looks like he was going to dig a tunnel under the Mexico border and sneak to Tijuana. That's how much equipment he had. He's either smuggling drugs or chopping up his wife. I don't know. One of the two. I think he chopped his wife up. It's sad to say. All righty. Imagine. So he kept going to his mom's. He kept going to his mom's apartment, and his mom said, "Yeah, I saw him." Imagine thinking, "Oh, little Brian, it's so nice of you to come visit me. You've came and visited me 3-4 times today. How sweet." Just to find out he was only there to dump bodies in your dumpster. I mean, come on. Your 45-year-old son. Anyways, I'm going to play a little bit more.
At that point in time, the babysitter has left with him with the children who are asleep. From 2 a.m. to approximately 5:30 a.m., the oldest child's iPad searched and visited websites concerning instructions on how to clean blood and DNA from objects, how to remove SIM cards from phones, how to mix ammonia, and search for apartment complex in Brockton, Massachusetts.
Dang, maybe he was just searching all that to figure out how to clean the oven. Maybe he just needed to know how to mix ammonia to clean the oven. I don't know.
At 8 a.m., the babysitter returned to the Walsh residence. Mr. Walsh left the residence that morning and is on surveillance at Home Goods in Norwell, purchasing 3 area rugs and scented candles. The babysitter would state that by the end of the week, she had noticed that the downstairs area rugs had been replaced, as well as
Damn, she was babysitting the kids in that house while he was chopping up the wife downstairs. That's creepy, man.
kitchen trash can. Mr. Walsh returned from Home Goods, and the oldest child at this point in time had discovered his missing cell phone in a sibling's room. However, the oldest child's iPad continued to make searches on websites detailing how long Lowe's maintains security videos, how apartments maintain surveillance, and numerous articles about dismembering a human body.
Well, can't really find an excuse for that search. How to dismember a human body. What an idiot. What an idiot. I'm going to make myself big. What an idiot.
p.m. on January 2nd, Mr. Walsh traveled alone to Home Depot in Rockland, and there he is seen on video purchasing 3 more additional 5-gallon buckets with leak-proof lids, a hatchet, plastic sheeting, 24 pounds of baking soda, and a second Tyvek suit. He then traveled to the Derby Street shops, Your Honor, where his car
24 pounds of baking soda, a hatchet, and a full body suit. Yeah, it's brutal, man.
is seen traveling behind the shops in the area of the dumpsters, and then eventually will return to the shops where he is by himself, where he goes to a local restaurant and purchases takeout. Mr. Walsh returned
Let me just dismember my wife and then let's go get takeout.
to his home. The babysitter departed, and at that evening on January 2nd, he was alone by himself in his home except for his sleeping children. From 1 a.m. or approximately 1:18 a.m. to 7 a.m., the oldest child's iPad again searches for and visits websites to discuss removing the odor of decomposing bodies. It also visits aftermath.com. Now, this is a company that cleans up crime scenes. It also visited and looked at websites for detecting how blood can be detected using fluorescein, and how to remove blood stains from concrete. Notably, the basement floor in the home in Cohasset is a concrete floor. This was not accessed by Mr. Walsh's mother or the babysitter that first week in January, and had a security lock at the top of it that would prevent the children from gaining access to the basement. On January 3rd, Mr. Walsh brought his children to daycare and then into school and returned to the Cohasset home. At 8:30 a.m., Mr. Walsh makes his first attempt to contact his wife's cell phone by placing
Every guilty man, well, okay, I'm not going to say every guilty man, but every husband that kills their wife always makes the good old call 3 times. Every time they call their wife 3 times in a row, right after they just got rid of the body.
A call that goes unanswered. He would do this 3 more times at approximately 2:30
He did it 4. Got to be extra safe. Call her 4 times.
3 p.m. that day. At 10:30 a.m. on the 3rd, Mr. Walsh texted one of Ana's friends in Washington, D.C., and asked if she had seen Ana. On the 3rd, Mr. Walsh had made no attempts to contact the police, hospital, airlines, taxi, her work to locate Miss Walsh. On the afternoon of the 3rd, Mr. Walsh visited 3 different apartment complexes in Abington and 1 in Brockton. Video from these complexes captured Mr. Walsh in the area of the dumpsters for 3 of these complexes. One video showed him looking into a dumpster and not putting anything into it. A second captures him taking items from his SUV by the area of the dumpster. And then the third depicts Mr. Walsh disposing a bag that appears to be heavy into the dumpster. On January 4th, at 10:04
Well, that doesn't sound very good. That definitely doesn't sound very good.
a.m., the person that Mr. Walsh had texted the day before.
Remember earlier he was searching apartments on his child's tablet as well with how to dismember a body. Yeah.
Responds to him and asks if he has heard from Ana. 10 minutes later, Mr. Walsh then calls the building that Ana Walsh worked at in D.C. and reports her missing. 5 minutes after that, he texts back to the friend and says, work is looking for her. At 10:30 is when work calls Mr. Walsh and begins the process of trying to find Miss Ana Walsh. After talking with Mr. Brian Walsh, Tishman Speyer employees contact their local and national offices. They send out emails. They even go to her home to try and find Miss Walsh. They contacted local hospitals. During their calls, they encouraged Mr. Walsh to report her missing to the Cohasset police. At approximately 11:40 on January 4th, Tishman Speyer Security notifies Cohasset police. This is the first time law enforcement is notified.
Yeah, did you hear the part how her work started calling hospitals? Well, normally when your significant other is truly missing, that's usually what people do. And I know that to be true for a fact. I know my mother's done that looking for me. It's sad, but I had her call in every hospital in all of California. And that's just kind of what people do when a loved one is missing. They don't just call them 3 times in a row and then that's it. And then don't call the police for another day. You know? Anyways. All right. So that is a base of most of what the evidence they have, other than one other thing. Remember all those trash cans that he was visiting? Well, here's the testimony about what happened to those dumpsters, those trash dumpsters. One moment.
On the 8th, officers obtained search warrants for Mr. Walsh's home and vehicle and began the processes of searching those items over the next 2 days.
Oh, yeah. The contents of the dumpster are coming here in a second. But did you hear they asked for the contents of his phone and his child's devices as well? I bet he was like, "Oh shit, I didn't think they were going to look at those. Oh, my phone's clean, but my child's tablet's not." Ah, geez, dumbass.
In the basement, Your Honor, there were found 8 red-brown stains that initially tested positive for the presence of blood. One of those stains has subsequently gone to the lab and did not pass confirmatory testing.
I mean, he must have learned how to clean up blood pretty damn well because it didn't pass confirmatory testing. So it was blood, but they couldn't confirm whose blood, which means he must have, done something to tamper with it.
Mr. Walsh's Volvo SUV also tested positive for the presumptive presence of blood in the driver's side seat control areas, the passenger floor mats, in the rear trunk area. On the 8th, by January 8th, Your Honor, all of the dumpsters that police could identify that Mr. Walsh had gone to, with the exception of going to the Swampscott dumpster on the 5th, had been emptied and taken to CMAS. CMAS is a large-scale waste-to-energy recycling facility where the contents of the dumpsters are shredded and incinerated. This process goes on 24 hours a day, and by that time, by the 8th, all of those contents had been incinerated, leaving behind only a fine ash. The dumpsters are shredded.
Let's hear that
and
again.
Incinerated. This process goes on 24 hours a day, and by that time, by the 8th, all of those contents had been incinerated, leaving behind only a fine ash.
Wow. If he would have just gotten rid of everything in those dumpsters, they wouldn't have found anything. But guess what? Remember when he went to the dumpster that last time? Well, that one hadn't gotten taken to the landfill yet.
However, law enforcement was able to go to the Swampscott dumpster. In the Swampscott dumpster, they found items, including a set of Volkswagen keys, Ana Walsh's COVID vaccination card, an Hermes watch identical to what Ana Walsh was known to wear, blue-gray hunter boots, a black product purse, and a short black coat. Also located in the dumpster, Your Honor, were rugs consistent with those that had been found that were in the living room and the kitchen of the Cohasset home. These rugs contained red-brown staining as well, and a piece of a Gucci necklace consistent with one that Ana Walsh wore was found within one of the two rugs.
Something about that COVID vaccination card just screams bullshit to me. Like they probably have a million of those things laying around. They probably just filled her name out and threw it in there. The other stuff I believe they found, the rug with the blood, this and that, but the COVID vaccination card, that just seems like a little random. Why wouldn't he just light that with a lighter and burn it? I don't know.
The dumpster contained numerous items identical to those that Mr. Walsh had purchased at Lowe's, which included a Tyvek suit, a Lennox high-tension hacksaw, hammer, hatchet, and snips. The hatchet was purchased at Home Depot. The Tyvek suit had a red-brown stain on the exterior. The stain was tested, and Ana Walsh's DNA was determined to be a contributor. The hacksaw had red-brown staining in several areas. When it was disassembled, a small fragment of bone was recovered. These items are being processed for DNA. Also in the investigation, it was determined that in 2001, Ana Walsh had taken out approximately $2.2 million in life insurance on herself, where Brian Walsh is the sole beneficiary. And as a result of working at Tishman Speyer, she has an additional more than $400,000 life insurance policy where he was the sole beneficiary. In total, her life insurance is over $2.7 million, where the defendant was the sole beneficiary.
What is a life worth? Is a life worth $2.7 million? Not in my opinion. But to some people, it's kind of sad, especially your wife's life. $2.7 million, is that worth it? I don't know. You tell me. In my opinion, it's not. Alrighty. So, I believe. Anyways, so let me move on. I got a little bit of stuff from basically a little bit of stuff here from. Well, this says the turned over devices, but I swear I already played that.
At approximately 9:30 a.m. on January 5th, while law enforcement is undergoing all this searching, the defendant travels to his mother's apartment building in Swampscott, and his phone shows through native location data that it is in the area of the dumpster.
Yeah, I already played that. Anyways, okay, so what I'm going to go into now is I'm going to go into a little bit of the defense. I mean, how do you defend this? I don't know. We're going to find out. So let me go ahead and play a little bit of the defense's arguments.
Mr. Walsh had no idea that his wife was having an affair until he
By the way, that was one of their motives, was that his wife was having an affair. So she's saying he had no idea.
learned it in discovery in this case. There was a friend over. The last time she was seen was New Year's Eve. They were having Mr. Walsh made dinner for the friend. They were having a celebratory New Year's Eve dinner. They were having champagne. They each signed the outside box of the champagne bottle, saying that 2023 was going to be their best year ever, that they were a triumvirate, that there was only good things going to happen.
Wow, only good things going to happen. That was probably him that wrote that. And then literally the next day, he killed his wife, allegedly.
2023, there was no indication of any discord, no silences, no feeling that there was anything but happiness between the couple.
There was no silences. Yeah, that he couldn't have killed her. There was no silences. Come on. I give her an A for effort. I mean, it's hard to defend when you got shit like that coming out. Here's her defense about the Google searches. Here's what she has to say about those.
With respect to the Google searches, Your Honor, yes, I get that they're problematic. But there were other Google searches that the prosecutor didn't mention, including a search of how to...
Yeah, I agree. Those Google searches are troubling, but he didn't mention the other Google searches.
To set up a charitable corporation to give away large lottery winnings, tax-free. Well, Mr. Walsh never won a large amount of money in the lottery, and Mr. Walsh never set up a charitable contribution. There were also Google searches on best places to go for a family vacation in 2023. Best places to go for family vacations, all in the same time period, Your Honor.
He Googled where to go on vacation. That means all the other Google searches don't matter. Ma'am, that makes it even worse because that proves that it was an adult using that tablet. The kid probably wasn't looking to where to go on vacation. I mean, she's literally arguing, well, yeah, those Google searches are a little weird, but they didn't talk about the ones that aren't weird. Well, it doesn't matter. If you Google how to get rid of a body and then the next thing you Google is find my iPhone, that doesn't negate the fact that you just Google searched where to find a body. Huh. Oh, man.
With respect to the blood in the basement, the police did take 8 separate swabs from the basement, which they thought contained blood. One of the 8 that we know of was sent to the lab for a confirmatory test. It came back negative. I don't know if the other 7 were just waiting for them to come back, or if they just decided to abandon that when one came back negative and not spend the money to do the other 7. But while it may be that the police who saw the little swabs, the spots, which look really like rust, it's an old basement, it's an old house.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, why didn't they send out the other 7? If they took 8 swabs, they only got back 1, and they couldn't confirm that it was her blood. So, I mean, she's got a little bit of a point there. I'll give that to her. All right.
Has been cooperative with the police from day one. As the prosecutor indicated, he consented to give his phones to the police. He consented to give the iPads to the police.
Dude, he knows he's burnt. He's like, dude, I am fucked. He knows it.
Allowed 3 consent searches of the place, including with blood-sniffing canines, where the canines came up with nothing.
Canines came up with nothing. Man, he really learned how to get rid of the smell of all that. He really, 24 pounds of baking soda, couple jugs of ammonia, 5-gallon buckets. I guess it did the trick.
He consented to draining the home's pool, which came up with nothing. He's been nothing but cooperative in this. He did call the employer on Wednesday when she was gone for 3 days and asked if she was there. Your Honor, that followed a pattern. Since Thanksgiving, Ana Walsh was gone, was not being able to be contacted for periods of days at a time. When Brian asked her about that, she said, "Oh, don't be a worrywart. Don't call my employer." He waited 3 days to call her employer, assuming she had gone back to D.C. as she said she was going to, and was involved in a work emergency.
Don't be a worrywart. And you're trying to say you didn't know or think she was cheating, but yet she was unable to get a hold of her for 3 days? That was a normal occurrence? Sorry. If I'm married and I can't get a hold of my old lady for 3 days, I'm either yeah, there's going to be a problem there. Yeah, definitely going to be a problem there. Anyways, because even if I don't care if you're out cheating, I don't want to think that something's wrong, you're injured or hurt for 3 straight days. That's not okay. So I think that's bullshit.
And Mr. Walsh gave 2 interviews on that same day. Your Honor, the prosecution also suggests maybe a financial motive because of life insurance policies, but there's no evidence Mr. Walsh was in the least bit needing of money. His mother, as the prosecution knows, is wealthy. She's given tens of thousands of dollars to Ana and to Brian.
His mother is wealthy. He wouldn't kill her for money. I mean, that's even more embarrassing. Maybe he got sick of asking his mom for money and just wanted to get rid of Ana because she was the breadwinner, if you guys haven't noticed. He was on house arrest for some other charges that he was facing. He's the bust out in this whole situation.
He was not in need of anything, nor were his children.
He was not in need of anything. All right, well, he was in need of a new wife, I guess, apparently. Anyways, last little clip here, folks.
Your Honor, and that brings me to the point of Mr. Walsh has been the children. He has 3 young children who he has been the primary caregiver since each of those children were born. He's gotten them up, he's gotten them clothed, he's gotten them bathed, he's taken them to school, he's taken them to appointments.
Gotten them up, gotten them clothed, gotten them bathed. Well, it doesn't look like he got himself bathed very well back there. The back of his head looks like a carpet.
He's taken them to the beach. He was the primary.
I mean, I don't blame him, though. His life's pretty much over. I wouldn't either. He's burnt, man. You hear all this evidence? He's burnt.
Caregiver of those children.
Burnt.
Ana worked a lot. She wasn't home on nights and weekends, even when she was working in Boston. She moved to D.C. for a job in March.
Mr. Clean back there is just, I mean, he probably can't believe his ears, or he's about to fall asleep and he's heard this a million times, one of the two. But Mr. Clean is he's feeling it back there, man.
2022, where she would come home on weekends if she could. Not every weekend, and even on weekends when she was home, she spent a fair amount of time without being with the children. Mr. Walsh is the primary caregiver, always has been. It may be somewhat easy to disappear if you're an adult and single. It is not easy to disappear with 3 young children. Those children live in Massachusetts. The only family he has are the 3 young children, his mother, who also lives in Massachusetts. So I would suggest that there is no risk of flight here. Thank you.
I would suggest there's no risk of flight. Do you see that guy? I mean, he looks like he wants to off himself. I think he's going to either flee or off himself. I don't know. I wouldn't give him bail. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Brian Walsh, arraignment. Thank you for tuning in. If you're still with us, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. It helps support my podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you in advance. Have a good one.